Hello, I'm Michael Boyajian, and I'm going to be talking about some books I had written early on in my uh, resurgence of writing. Um, and They were books about Buddhism and how the general theme in each book varied, but every book opened up pretty much the same, which is how you can use Buddhism not as a cure for depression or anxiety, but as a supplement to your treatment, which includes medication, therapy, and a few other things. But it's also a supplemental addition to your treatment, which is quite effective, and I can attest to that. Again, but you must really the main thing should be your doctors, your medication, and your therapy. So I've written a number of books on Buddhism: Into the Bright Light of the Sun, Tibetan Buddhism and Ego, Redirecting the River, Fighting Depression with Buddhist, the Holidays collection, number of Buddhist books put in one, and Fighting Windmills and Depression with Tibetan Buddhism. I also wrote one tying fishing and fly fishing into it. You know what? I think I was stretching things with that one, so let's not even concern ourselves with that book. I just know I got a comment from one of my good Buddhist friends. He says, he was a bit shocked by my positions in that book. But let's stick with the 4 or 5 I just mentioned. And when Jerry when Jerry got sick, actually, I could not use the Tibetan Buddhism, which is designed. The meditation is designed not to help yourself, which it does, but to focus on helping others. But you must be healthy yourself, so you have to take care of yourself first and then help others. And I knew that was not my task with Jerry when she got sick with the stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. My job was physical. I had to coach her, make sure she got to every single appointment 24/7. Whenever they called, we dropped what we were doing and went. Rain, snow, ice, we were there. I mean, every weekday in January, we went to the radiation and didn't miss a date. And, some people took off for holidays, not us. We just pushed through. Unfortunately, things did not work out, but that's another story. Anyhow, soon after she passed, I tried getting back into Buddhism, and I quickly hit 100% of what my meditation practice was at, which included contemplation and meditation and study. Okay, so I really didn't lose that much ground. And in fact, I was still keeping up with the book that the class we used to attend was using, but I don't include that now. It's good stuff, but I don't include it in my core meditation. Anyhow, about a month ago, I went back and took another hit at the meditation after a long sojourn, and I was down to 50% of my knowledge. That was bad. And then one of my books I titled, or I had a dedication to Jerry involving running through tall grass. And I came home one day and there was a strand of tall grass laying on a notebook by my couch here. And I picked it up and noticed that the notebook was my old Dharma Path notebook. I quickly went through it and I got back up to 90% on the notes in there with my the dialogues between my Lama and myself, which was also where I just had the epiphany and breakthrough regarding attachments and love, in addition to the existence of Buddhism. But that's another story. But I still was not at 100%, but I started meditating again once or twice a day, using due diligence, of course, which is half the thing. You can't just do it here and there and one day and not the other. But I hit 100% now because I dug out these books on Kindle and I did a few searches, and I'm at 100% now using the search engine on the Kindle books that I published. Basically, I'm going to skip the first half of my program and just talk about the second half, which is relative and ultimate bodhicitta. And basically that starts out that our experiences are dreams or illusions. Okay, I can't figure out which they are. I lean towards dreams. Jerry was adamant in finding out what it was. Was it a dream or was it an illusion? There was no gray area for her, and I don't know if she ever did get the answer to that. I know that she knew a lot, that she'd been practicing much longer than me on the Dharma path. But and I miss having our dialogues after class on the drive home. But so that's the first part of Relative and Ultimate Bodhicitta. And the second half is unborn awareness of your mind. Your mind exists, and it's everybody's mind, the universe's mind. It all exists before you're aware of it, after you're aware of it, and while you're aware of it. How do you get in touch with this unborn awareness of your mind? Well, in your young days, you have memories. I can trace my first memory back. It's not pleasant, but it's a memory of the JFK funeral and his son John Boy, saluting his father's coffin as it went by. And again, he was the same age as me. And so that was my first memory. And that was not awareness of my mind. In order to have that, you've got to do something compassionate. And it never really occurred to me when I did these things that I was actually opening a door into unborn awareness of the mind. But this is decades before I even knew anything about Buddhism through Jerry alone. But compassion will open the door. You need the key of compassion. And for me, it was just two simple things that I had done in my youth. And this could happen at any age. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be middle-aged. You don't have to be any age that it happens, the door opens. And it's like a golden age comes in, or an enlightenment, or a renaissance. I wouldn't really call it a renaissance because a renaissance is like a rebirth. And it's not really a rebirth. It's, more like a golden age arriving, or even an enlightenment, if you will. But for me, the two things were, I occasionally took care of the special ed classes, a bird. They had a little pet bird. I guess it was a canary. And on the holidays, I would bring it home and hang it up by my bed. And it was like my pal, and it was very rewarding, actually, because soon after the holiday was over and I brought the bird back to the class, I received multitudes of letters from these young special ed kids, and it was so sweet and loving. It really touched my heart getting these really happy letters. Anyhow, that's one thing. The other thing I did was, and again, I have some friends who suffer from muscular dystrophy, and they're not happy about Jerry Lewis and his telethon and his work on their behalf. But when I was a kid, I was a big fan of Jerry Lewis, and I liked the telethon. I was young. I was a kid. I didn't know the workings and dealings behind the scenes or whatever. And what Jerry Lewis would do would be to, if you wanted to have a carnival and raise money and send it to his organization, he would send you a kit with all kinds of things. It was so exciting. It was you put on puppet shows, how to make a puppet theater out of a refrigerator box, or all these things, and the whole thing, the kit had stuff you cut out of it, and you had your lemonade stand and your snacks, and the whole neighborhood came out. And I mean, okay, what did I raise? $15. I did it a couple years in a row, and it wasn't so much the money that I raised, but it was the awareness that I got of people suffering from muscular dystrophy. And I have a friend who suffers from that, and a number of his friends also do, and I've met some of them too. But it's an amazing story, but that's not for me to tell now. Anyhow, so compassion, it opens the door for me, and suddenly I'm reading books, and they're amazing. I'm seeing things that I didn't see before in these books. like my junior high teacher, Mr. Scalia, turned me on to Catch 22. I opened that book and started laughing until I closed the book. It was so funny, yet so scary and real about war. And I swear to this day that he's writing about my father. Because my father was in the Army Air Corps and saw his friend die on the runway, like the main character in Catch 22. And that fellow was Armenian also. So, who knows? Serendipity? I don't know. But then math. I was never... math was not easy, but it amazed me. The whole trick for me doing well in math is I had to go to every class. If I missed a class, that was it. I was sunk. Every class of math I went to, no matter what. And I did algebra and geometry, trigonometry, statistics. I think that's it. Yeah, I didn't do calculus. I don't know why, but funny enough, of all those maths, and again, it just amazed me that you could go through all these formulas and angles and come up with an answer. It was like the whole universe, it was somehow working and connected, you know? Anyhow, the thing I use the most today, and I laugh at people say, oh, what do you got to take math for? You never use it. Oh, you do use it. You really do. And I could tell you stories about algebra and geometry and trigonometry, but let me tell you about statistics and probability. Any action I take, I do a risk analysis, a statistical probability risk analysis. Is it worth doing? Is it not worth doing? You know, what's the percentage of success? I go through that instantly in my mind, having taken that statistics course. And you know what? I'm not the only one who does that. My studies of and writings on the Roman Empire have led me to believe that the Romans didn't just walk around saying, hey, let's invade this country, let's invade that. No, they did a risk analysis. What was the worth? What do we get out of it? Is it worth invading? Is it worth, making it into a province? Or is it worth becoming a client state? They measured everything off. They may not have called it statistics and probability or risk analysis, but that's what they would do. And you read my Armenian book, and you'll see that's what they did with Armenia. Okay? Anyhow, and then, history also became an amazing thing. You'd see things you never saw before. And science is fantastic. And I know we should not mix God and science together, but there's a famous physicist in New York City who has a book out that's Inside God's Mind. And I mean, that's really physics. I mean, if you do some physics, you're really seeing how things work. You're like looking at the cogs spinning around there. Anyhow, that's how it works. Your unborn awareness, and that's what you get, is all of that. And it carried me throughout life to courses on astronomy and Native American studies, South African history. We knew about apartheid before anybody did when I took that course at Stony Brook University, and it was quite shocking finding out what they were doing there, and many other courses. I would go to Chinese intellectual history. I could go on down the list here. And then going to law school, becoming a lawyer, becoming a judge. It was all magical. And meeting my wife and our sharing Buddhism together. I can go into stories forever about that, how Jerry was into it much longer before me. But I would always go with her to these bookstores and events. And once we were in Central Park, 30 of us, and Allen Ginsberg was rapping about Buddhism to us, cross-legged on the grass. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, there's 30 people here sitting around the greatest poet in American history, or at least one of them. That's Buddhism. I also got to see the Dalai Lama twice. Once I was 6 rows away from him, in front of him. Definitely feeling energy there. But anyhow, getting back to the relative and ultimate bodhicitta, another facet that you come across is child of illusion. And what that means is when you're done meditating, stay in the meditative state. Okay? That buzz you're having, keep it going. You don't have to be meditating. And I do that when I travel. I start meditating when close to the time that our car service would pick us up, and I'd go into that state. And I'd be in that state as we drove to the airport. When we got to the airport, we went through security, we went online, we did check-in, baggage check-in, got on the plane, sat down, flew 6 hours to Europe, got off the plane, went through security, got in the car service, got to the hotel, came out of the meditative state then. And then that way, I didn't have any stress, and the vacation started just like that. And the other thing in this area is the 4 R's, okay? And this is not like a New Year's Eve resolution. This is really a way to work through a problem you're having. And for me, it was road rage, which is completely gone now. Just like that. I just noticed. I said, gee, I don't have road rage anymore. But it takes a lot of work. It took a long, long time work. And it's the 4 R's. And the first R is recognizing you have a problem. Okay? Second thing is, the second R, resolving to correct the problem, okay? The third thing is taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. That basically means, without going into detail, taking refuge in the teachings of the Buddha. And again, the Buddha is not a god. He has said it. He said it himself. I'm not a god. I'm just someone who awoken. Okay, and that's what Buddhism does. You awaken. And again, it doesn't affect your religious beliefs at all. And I can go on about that. But and then the next door is to recite the 7-branch prayer, which is about the poisonous afflictions of the mind, greed, hatred, jealousy, anger, things like that. And then just keep doing that, and you'll work through it. From there, I would go into Chen Rising, which is a whole thing entirely. And from there, I'd go into my meditation called Tonglen meditation, where I do a 7 count over and over again, and I send healing energy to people. Like now, I'm sending healing energy to my late wife, giving her energy for her existence in the other world. I send it to myself for my own grieving. I send it to my family members who have COVID, and I send it to people with similar afflictions, and then I send it to the world. And that does it, but there's one step further that you have to go, because it's like a bottle of salt water that's been shaken, and you can't see through it now. It's cloudy. You've got to get all that sediment settled, and that's when your Shinne meditation comes in. And what I do, there's numerous things you can do, but what I do right now, at this moment, and I've been doing it for a number of years now, is I think of the time Jerry and I, my late wife, went to Walden's Pond, where Thoreau meditated and hung out for many years and wrote his famous book. And we were there in October, and it was an Indian summer day, beautiful Indian summer day, and the pond water was still. And in it were these young people floating up and down silently, bobbing in the water, going underwater, coming back up, and the still water would be there, and just little ripples would be coming out. And that's how I relax my mind and clear the water, and that finishes my meditation. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.